Got it. Now we are live streaming. So welcome to everybody who we have live on the call. You guys will get to ask any questions that you have afterwards. And also welcome to everyone who's joining us on the live stream. As you heard last week, our focus for the next few weeks in the Oasis, which is our incubator / coaching program for sovereign mastery. As you heard, that our focus in the Oasis over the next few weeks is a beautiful teaching series, which is going to take us much deeper into the mystery we're all examining, specifically by developing the craft of dissolving obstructions. So our focus in the sovereign way is ascension of consciousness. It's knowing more truth, holding more love, and mastering the metaphysical, mental, and vibrational mastery that's involved in that. And our current focus, therefore, is what are those hidden obstructions, the glitches in our mindset, in our blind spots, or those limitations that we don't know of. Where are they and how do we dissolve them? How do we reveal them and dissolve them? Or how do we even bypass the need for revealing them, but simply dissolve them through alchemy and grace? That's our focus over the next few weeks. And if you missed last week's teaching, never mind, let me know and I'll tag you in the replay. It's here in the group if you just scroll down a little bit. Right. Veiled obstructions. The first obstruction we're dealing with is your comfort zone. So that's what we're going to be diving into today, just so you can understand a little bit more about what the comfort zone really is and what the methods are for transcending the comfort zone. We've got a book coming out. We're really, really excited about it. We're just back from LA where we've been promoting our book, and we've been chatting with our gorgeous publisher, Andrea Albright at Beverly Hills Publishing. Shout out to her. So we're just back from LA promoting the book, Truth Expansion, which is the read of the century, actually the read of the last 2 millennia, I will so boldly say, if I must say so myself. And in that book, we examine, amongst many other spiritual and metaphysical laws, we examine 8 obstructions that are relevant to all of us. And in that immersion, you end up strengthening your ability to identify and dissolve all such vibrational limitations throughout your entire life. So it's a mastery that is embodied within you that you call on again and again on your journey. Wow, who wouldn't want that, right? So follow along this teaching series to really, really level up. And this week, as I said, we're dealing with comfort zone. Now, the comfort zone actually has nothing to do with comfort, as I know that you're aware. Most overweight people who are lying on the couch eating Netflix and watching Netflix and eating burgers or whatever, you know, the stereotype person who stays in their comfort zone is not actually comfortable. Everybody knows that when you are stagnant in your comfort zone, you are not actually comfortable. Your comfort zone is actually your vibrational reality. It's the edges of what you know is true about life and about who you are in that life. And the glitch is, especially for those of us who consider ourselves to be somewhat spiritually mature, in fact, those of us who know that we are ascending masters, that we've chosen a life of ongoing illumination, we've chosen a life of improvement in our own selves and the way that we relate to and serve the world. For this realm of consciousness, and I know that this applies to you, we can easily become seduced into thinking that the zone that we are in is reality, that the vibrational universe that we're forming is what reality is. So in other words, we've enjoyed the expansion of our horizons and we've claimed our sovereignty in the new realm. And we've come to associate success with being at the top of our game, but we're still inside that comfort zone. We're still inside that which we can imagine, that which we've crafted for ourselves, that which we claimed for ourselves. I am a goddess on the throne because I can imagine that. What about the unimaginable? I'm going to tell you about 2 schools of thought. And now you're going to have to do some logic work with me now. So you have to follow along. So stay really poised and stay really focused. These are 2 lines of philosophy that we prescribe to in the sovereign way. The first is phenomenology. This is a worldview. Look it up. This is a worldview, a line of philosophy that says that the reality that you're experiencing is entirely projected by you, that you are immediately creating by the nature of your beliefs and by the nature of your standpoints, or we could say your coordinates of consciousness. Yes? In other words, you live in a universe that is completely unique to you, and so does everybody else. And though we interact in a shared infrastructure and we transmit values and intentions through those universes, and we are in relation with one another, we are all nonetheless inside our own reality. Unique cocktail of data points that you've absorbed, that you've prehended and embodied and accepted as true throughout your entire life, ranging from cultural declarations to natural limitations to all the lovely little bits of epigenetic data that was handed down to you into a very unique cocktail. You are all alone in your vibrational universe. And so are we all, according to phenomenology. Except that there is that one unique golden thread that combines us all. And that brings us to the second line of thought that I want to introduce you to, which is ontology. Now, ontology is the line of philosophy that deals with the becoming of life. And this is process philosophy that says that all of the universe comes from one source and is made of one substance and is constantly creating and expanding. So there is always ongoing life, there's always ongoing growth, and there's always ongoing vitality. So although we may be existing all alone inside a prehension, a universe of prehension, we are nonetheless uniquely and intimately and indivisibly joined as one fabric. None of us are alone. We are all one. And this line of thought that says that the universe is constantly in an unending process of creation, and sure, destruction is a part of creation, we admit that, but that there is this constant ongoing unfolding of creation, it means that we are all naturally called forward in life, that there is no natural stagnation, that our truest nature is for expansion, is for evolution, is for ascension of consciousness. So if you put these two world views, these two lines of philosophy on top of each other, phenomenology, that your reality as you experience it is entirely projected by you and you alone, on top of ontology, which is saying that you are constantly creating in this never-ending process of unfolding, put these two on top of each other, and you get the knowing that each of us is constantly called into expansion inside and through the vibrational universes that we are creating with the coordinates of consciousness that we set. That's the comfort zone. I have an amazing client. He's a really well-established psychiatrist out of Texas. So he's used to thinking deeply about things and to sorting things out in mind. And he says, so what I'm getting, and he leans in, and he's got this deep voice, and he leans in, and he says, so what I'm getting here is that somewhere in the cosmos, there are Norsemen in Valhalla. Of course, what he means is that there are enough human frameworks of consciousness, there are enough individuals, enough incarnate people over the course of history collectively projecting into a vibrational reality called Valhalla. And that collectively, therefore, then that possibility has been formed and manifests somewhere in all the dimensions of all of the unending quantum universe. And I thought that was brilliant. Somewhere there are Norsemen in Valhalla. Indeed, So in other words, if we change those coordinates of thought and feeling and reality, thoughts and feeling, those ideas of reality that we have, if we change those coordinates in our consciousness, reality changes. Reality changes for us. That's the basis of vibrational ontology, which is what happens when you take phenomenology and ontology and you put them together. So, by the way, though, as a little PS, a little side note, if we can change our coordinates of consciousness to change our reality, why not, therefore, adjust our coordinates of consciousness to match the highest possible framework for creation? Christ consciousness. A framework for immediate mercy, unconditional love, unending abundance, miracle and magic round every single corner, and a constant realization of intimacy with life. I mean, why not? But anyway, your vibrational universe, the reality that you're living and experiencing right now, which is different from everybody else's, that's your comfort zone, right? That's the summary of what I've said so far. And all of your mastery practice, all of your mastery practices, all of the tools that you've picked up, all of the yoga poses that you've practiced, all of the sound bath healing techniques that you've taken, all of everything that you've done so far are practices that have been used by you to master your life in that reality created by all of the rules and paradigms that you've set for yourself. You're using mastery tools to navigate the obstructions that you've placed there in the first place. And you've gotten really, really good at it, which is why you're so spiritually aware. That's why you are an awakened one. It's why you are walking the path of increasing enlightenment and mastery. You do have an intimate and masterful, most times, relationship with your life. And you get to acknowledge that for yourself. But even you have horizons. Even you have edges of your comfort zone where your wildest imagination fades and becomes obscure and loses its reach and cannot pass. Our horizons are as far as we can see. I can't see how my body could react positively to the vaccine. I can't see how this relationship can heal. I can't see how we can get peace in the Holy Land. I can't see how it'd be possible for me to enjoy wearing colorful, bright clothes when everyone else is wearing gray. I can't see how it could be possible for me to worship openly. I can't see how it'd be possible for me to live richly off less money than I have now, or how it's possible for me to live humbly with more money than I have now. These are the edges of what you can see. The real truth, of course, and I know that you know this, is that you don't have to see these things. If you don't want to spend your life constantly trying to focus on the right thoughts, focus on the right feelings, somehow sort out what are all the right actions and manage all the different vibrational states so you can succeed at holding a successful point of attraction so that LOA can work for you in your life. If you don't want to have that orchestration on your shoulders, then you don't have to. You cannot visualize your expansion. You cannot visualize the unimaginable. You are not the master architect and you're not the master alchemist. Sure, you can predict some vibrational probabilities and you can get some fairly accurate psychic results. You can get some fairly accurate empathic kind of notions, but only from inside the scope of your current vibrational universe. And if you're then banking on that to actually happen, the things that you're visualizing for yourself, or the psychic notions that you've picked up, or the predictions that you've made, or the prophecies that you've claimed, and you're banking on those to come true in order to validate yourself, then you're distorting the process of becoming, because you're creatively aligning with something imaginable. Do you understand that? You are creatively aligning with something already conceivable inside of your comfort zone. And you might feel like you need to stretch yourself a little bit in order to achieve those things. And you might say, oh, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. You're not really stepping out of your comfort zone. You're just flexing some muscles inside the comfort zone. You're creatively aligning with something you've already been able to conceive. That's not opening the floodgates for the unimaginable to come through. That's not aligning yourself with the infinite flow of grace. That's being a badass boss bitch queen in your queendom. And that's super, super cool. But there's so much more. So what you need to do instead is to remove all of your active seeing from the equation altogether. Yeah. You need to let go. Let go of the control wheel. Step away from the control panel. Because remember, all your judgments are creative declarations. Everything that you say about yourself, about the world, about that guy over there are creative declarations. Unless you can see the Christ in every single person around you, then you are not holding space for the highest possibility. You're inside your comfort zone. So instead of trying to visualize something that's outside of your comfort zone, or try to make a really well formulated declaration about what you would like to see come to form, instead, make 100% agreement that under the grace of God, everything is possible. And then just let go. Tap that in. Good. Good. Here's a red alert. You will in your expansion, and you will in your expansion, approach the edges of your comfort zone. For those of you who followed last week in the Oasis, you'll remember the story of the little frog who had no idea that he was resisting his own deliverance because of a limbic association. We do that all the time. When we approach the edges of our comfort zone, resistance will be triggered. That's not personal. That's not because you have limitations. It's not because you haven't figured it out yet, or your mental mastery isn't on point, or you've got lack mentality. It's not because of that. It's not personal. It's biological. Now, at more ascended levels of consciousness, it's quite easy for us to be seduced into thinking that we've overcome fear, that we're not afraid anymore from our traumas and our errors. So we can be seduced into thinking that, and then we make the logical misassociation that any fear that I'm feeling must be a fair warning from the universe. This is all very subtle. This isn't necessarily conscious, right? But you know the term, that doesn't resonate with me right now. That is a classic statement of being inside a comfort zone. That's a fair warning from the universe. That doesn't resonate. But let me tell you something. It is not a warning from the universe. It's a warning from nature. And it's telling the animal part of you that you're on the edge of a cliff. Watch out. And the triggers, what you feel, that what you notice, the resistance that you notice when you're at the edge of a cliff, those are all attached to beliefs which are lodged in the human mind. So it's animal, you see. This is biological. Oh, don't go across the cliff because I will plummet to my death. It's very reasonable. Trust me, I lived in the wild with my family at the mercy of lions and bears and coyote and frost. I defied the warnings of nature to obey the call of the divine. I know fear and its flavors. And I can tell you that observing the emotion of fear, observing it as an emotion, as a signal, as a natural signal to the animal, and alchemizing it, therefore, using a combination of logic and magic, alchemizing that emotion of fear and transforming it into excitement or eustress, it turns that fear into appropriate forward momentum. And sometimes you turn away from the cliff edge, or sometimes you scale down it, and sometimes you just leap the fuck off that thing. And you discover that God will either raise the ground or give you wings to fly, or something else unimaginable. There is an eternal flame burning inside every single one of us. No matter how stagnant we think we've become, no matter how far down we've sunk into the bogs, that eternal flame burns constantly. It's a constant supply of fuel that you can activate anytime you need that turbo boost to whoosh you through the glass ceiling of possibility, to whoosh you through the edges of your comfort zone. Let's take an example. Think of a thing that you want to transcend, something that you know is active, something that is preventing you from doing the thing you know you're called to do, right? Now, we're going to honor the fact that what you think is in the way is not what's actually in the way. That's just your interpretation. You're feeling resistance, you're sensing resistance, and your mind is putting to it a narrative because you don't actually know what's unknown. You don't know what's on the other side of the comfort zone, what's on the other side of the veil. So whatever formulation you've put to that sensation of resistance is not the actual thing. We understand that, but we'll accept it as a placeholder. So for example, this obstruction might sound like, my ideal client can't see me. I can't reach that client that I want to reach. Nobody pays that much for these services. Or I'm not able to communicate clearly on camera. Or my body reacts negatively to these items that I give it. Or I have a message to the world that will trigger resistance and then I'll be in danger. Or whatever it is, the kind of man that I'm looking for doesn't exist. Nobody treats their women right these days. Fill in the blank. And like I said, remember that this is a space holder because you don't know what is actually causing the resistance in you. It's an unknown, obscured limbic association. So that means that these ideas that you have, these linear formulations of what that obstruction is, don't come from Christ. They don't come from sovereign poise. They don't come from eternal possibility. They originate from story. And then they're drawn out of eternal possibility and made real, actualized in your experience by you, and then experienced by you again, validating and ensuring by recurring proof from manifestations such as Googling the thing and finding the exact article that confirms the thing you said in the first place, or reading about others that have the same symptoms, or banking on everything your doctor's diagnosis says. That's all comfort zone coding, and that can all be transcended. And one does this in one of two ways. Number one, either you do the shadow work. You work to unravel the links between consciousness, energy, and form. And you start off on what these known obstructions are, and then you do this unraveling and you reveal deeper beliefs that are lodged in your mind that have caused this horizon to form in the first place. And you explain why you keep manifesting the opposite reality from the one that you're wanting to lean into. And then you can, and now that you've revealed all this stuff, you have this big puzzle laid out, this big tapestry, and you can see all the threads clearly. Now it's easy to unpick those threads and you can work on improving those things. But it's incredibly complicated. It takes a vast amount of time because we're talking reprogramming neuro pathways. We're talking perfectly balancing every chakra, every energy center. We're talking about establishing really solid habitual life mastery practices. We're talking decades and decades and decades in the desert of you in lotus position, meditating and starving yourself and doing everything that you can to improve your mastery to the point where you can touch Christ consciousness. Or you can skip that part and you can spin your reality into instant deliverance. You can say, Jesus Christ, pour your mercy through these limitations. I am willing to know a new comfort zone. It's quicker. Some people love to do the work because it's their preference. I have spent years and years doing the work, and I'm very, very good at it. And some people like to make rapid advancements. Some people like to quantum leap through their vibrational universes and be delivered, be reborn into higher and yet higher experiences of life. And I've become very good at that too. It's your game, you see. Your life is your game. Your constant experience of realization is your game, and you are sovereign. You are the sovereign one inside that vibrational universe. So it's all up to you. It's all up to you. Do you want to be a Norseman in Valhalla? In our programs, in the Sovereign Masters programs, we will oversee the process that you choose. We will work with you to craft a program of ascension that perfectly aligns your gifts and your craft and the mastery that you've already embodied, and uses those things in a really streamlined and rapid framework for illumined goodness. This is an example of how quickly things can shift. I had a client earlier this year. We're going to call her Jane for the sake of this story. She came in after 47 doctors had turned her away because they couldn't help. She was suffering with a mystery illness. She had a suspected infection, leaving her with a burning sensation in her face and in her brain and in her digestive tissues. And nobody could figure out what this was. But I had a precedent client from the year before, so I had a suspicion of where my line of inquiry would go. And surely enough, we discovered that she had been born into a very strict and very judgmental culture, that these were her words, and that had carried with it generations of guilt and condemnation. So she had been trained to expect to be taken advantage of, and she was constantly affirmed and affirming her sinfulness and her filthy shame. And after decades and decades of this mindset, she was living in the constant projection of a living hell, which, by the way, also aligned with her religious beliefs. Her vibrational reality had formed itself to the exact parameters that she had set it. And we know all the good reasons. We know all the good reasons, the cultural influence, the decades and decades of religious dogma. We know all of the good reasons, and her vibrational reality had formed itself accordingly. She was not comfortable at all. She was extremely uncomfortable, but transcending beyond this world meant relinquishing everything that she knew to be true, because she knew they were out to take advantage of her. She knew that she was shameful and condemned to eternity in hell. She knew these things. So she had to be willing. She had to be willing to know a new reality. She had to be willing to put down certain parameters of how she was creating. Her belief systems had to come down to save her soul, in other words. Think of it that way. And listen to this. After 2 sessions of vibrational ontology, her doctor's tests came back and she had massive improvement in all her body systems, in all her organs, and in her state of mind. So the doctor's tests showed that by rearranging what she knew, she could immediately experience real manifest relief in her physical body. That's how powerful this stuff is. That was after 2 sessions. So you understand that it's very important to condition the mind, condition the vibration, and condition the manifest reality as well, the habitual space that you're in, so that it becomes easier and easier to calibrate to truth. That's your end of the bargain. That's your mastery, is holding that space. And grace does everything else. If you choose to align to the highest possible framework of creative consciousness, then all you need to do is to hold that choice and surrender everything else. That's a craft. We're going to be examining that craft more over the next few weeks. I can't wait to teach you what I know. By the way, I am going to say, I don't know that there are Norsemen in Valhalla. I will only teach on what I absolutely know through experiential proof, that I know for a fact through living it. And I haven't been to Valhalla. So that's conceptual. But I can't wait to guide you, to teach you what I have learned over the years and years of immersion in vibrational ontology, and to show you how to identify hidden obstructions and to dissolve them using that mercy frequency of Christ. So thank you very much for watching. Join the Oasis for the immersion teaching and energy protocols and coaching on how to transcend that comfort zone. And come back to the free group this same time next week. We're going to be dealing with impatience and vulnerability. That's all from me, folks. If you're on the live call, hold on for a second. I'm going to say goodbye to our live streamers, and then I'm going to open for your questions. So goodbye to everyone joining our stream. Thanks for watching. All right. Bravo. Who's here? We've got Kat still here, Matt still here, and Eleanor is still here. Thank you guys for staying with me for that whole time. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you have any questions about comfort zone, about transcending comfort zone, or anything else in particular? No? Good. Eleanor?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I just think it's so timely to have this theme right now.
It is, isn't it? There's something afoot. Is there something afoot?
Yes, something is afoot.
There's something afoot, yes. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful. See you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.